I get there's a lot of controversy and a lot of people have opinions, but this weird fan narrative has emerged throughout the Auburn fan base. Let's address it.
Well, Zach, I actually just finished crushing some chicken farm, and I am freaking ready to rock and roll.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining us, Justin Hokanson of On3AuburnLive.com. A lot of speculation. Everybody's got an opinion about how the head coaching situation should be handled, Hoke. Fun time to cover this Auburn team, huh?
Yeah, it's a great time to cover this Auburn team for sure.
Yeah. So
it's weird.
It is weird. And so this fan narrative that has emerged, right, over the last month, it was, okay, either bye week or the end of the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what you saw all across the board. That was kind of the chatter in the corner message board at auburnlive.com. And then Auburn loses to Ole Miss. Bryan Harsin survives. We are into the bye week now. And this narrative has emerged throughout the Auburn fan base, Hoke, saying, all right, well, I guess Auburn's keeping them, so we got to get behind them. And I'm fine. You can get behind whoever you want. I'm not criticizing that. But leading up to the bye week, Hoke, it was either bye week or end of the season. And now that we're past the bye week, everyone's like, oh, I guess they're keeping them. That's weird, right? Does that make sense to you?
No. I mean, what you're saying makes sense. The narrative does not make sense.
Right.
No. I mean, the bye week was a possibility. Early on, I thought it was a possibility. And then before Georgia is when I changed my tune and said, hey, it looks like he's going to stay through the end of the year. And that's what's going on. He's not going to be the coach next year. So, I mean, it's just a matter of timing. There's a lot of stuff we don't know behind the scenes in terms of timing. I think fans are just looking at it from a perspective of, they're just sort of looking at it, well, Nebraska fired their coach, Arizona State fired their coach, and Wisconsin fired their coach. That doesn't mean Auburn has to. Auburn's the best job available or that will be available at this point. I don't know of another one that's going to come up. So Auburn's not in a rush. They don't need to beat anybody to the punch right now. Money's not really different now or at the end of the year. And there's other things like transfer portal. You got to think about LSU last year when they made a change. They barely fielded a team for a bowl game. They got crushed. So if Auburn were to make a bowl game and you fired Harson now and you squeaked out a bowl game, how do you know that 30 players don't transfer? How do you know Derek Hall or whoever? I'm just making Auburn won't be able to field a team for a bowl if they somehow made one. So
because of the assumption if they moved on from Harsin, everybody would enter the portal. Is that what you're implying?
I think you have 30 days. There's a period. If a coach is fired, you can enter the portal. So if you fire Harsin, guys could just enter the portal left and right if they want to. And then if somehow you made a bowl game, you'd be, who knows what kind of team who would you send? Mm-hmm. I don't know how much of that's but that is one factor. That's one factor. So there's just stuff going on that, they're looking for an AD. So I don't know. It's just, the culture is not toxic inside the locker room. They're playing hard. So
you believe that because that's another narrative, right? That he's lost the team. That ESPN loved that argument that was happening on the sideline. They really zoomed in on that between Tank and Robbie.
It was good TV. It was good TV.
It was.
I had nothing wrong with I don't care. It was fine with me. It was good.
That happens with good teams. Remember
that clip of Alabama, Ronnie Harrison about to beat somebody's ass on the sideline. No, it was good TV, and it was also it was fine.
To me, it shows that this team cares. And it's you can't say that this team doesn't care. I liked it. I kind of wish there was more of it.
Yeah, it shows they care. It's like I wrote about, passion's good if it's directed in the right way.
Yeah, gotta control it.
It's good. Yeah, it's good if it goes the wrong way. You're like, hey, care less. But it's they're trying. Yeah, they're trying. I don't have a problem with with seeing that. Look, if they were tapped out, that game wouldn't have gone the way it did. I mean, they were 21-0. I was like, oh my gosh, I was looking up worst losses to Ole Miss ever. And
what was it? Do you remember?
40-7, I
Gross.
think. Like literally one of the first meetings ever.
It felt like it was about to be a lot worse than that, and then they turned it around. Yeah,
Auburn's pretty much owned them. I mean, it's like the worst is not terrible, but yeah. So if they were tapped out or done, they would have quit in that game. They wouldn't have come back from 21 down, and especially running the football that wouldn't have happened if they were checked out.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Okay, so to the fan or just critic that is out there saying, okay, they're probably going to keep Bryan Harsin now. What do you say? I mean, do you just say that's bogus? Like that's just an ill-found thought?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's no I can't find one person that says he's coming back. There's no reason he's coming back. Coaching search. I mean, there's discussions happening in the background of what they're going to buy out, who they should go after. I mean, he's done.
Hoke, what if? Let's just follow me here.
Fans are done. Like you couldn't if you wanted to. If they just decided, hey, God,
what if they went out? It's not going to happen. But what if they were to win out? What happens then?
I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, there's 0.0% chance of that happening. So
yeah.
It's, I mean, here's the deal. If they did that, I think he'd still probably be fired. Like you can't come back from this. You can't. You couldn't keep him and recruit. You couldn't keep. And if you kept him, let's just say let's just play that game. They win. They went out somehow for some reason. They're like, let's just keep him. Why in the world would he stay here? The next chance he gets at a decent job to go back out west or whatever, he's gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you're gonna have this strained relationship forever. I mean, it's done, man. I mean, it's done.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you. All right. I think not having a permanent AD in place impacts this. Hoke, I want to hear your thoughts on that and a potential timetable, maybe over the next few days, maybe the next week or so. Let's touch on that in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn, I got to tell you about our friends at SweatBlock. Look, it's pretty cold this week, which is nice, but it's going to get hot again. It's always hot in Alabama and Georgia, where a lot of you folks are listening. There's a real SweatBlock customer named Chris. It sounds like he was sweating like crazy. It ruined a bunch of his shirts. He found SweatBlock and he was able to actually keep a shirt for longer than a few months. There's a lot of people that deal with this. SweatBlock was created by a doctor and it is doctor recommended to help with excessive sweating. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweater odor, try SweatBlock today. You can save 20% with promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. Also available on Amazon. Justin Hokanson of auburnlive.com. Before we jump into AD stuff, Hoke, what are people missing out on if they are not subscribed and a member at auburnlive.com?
Everything. Zach, everything.
Everything.
You're just not going to know anything. No. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of great basketball and content coming now, football content. What you're really missing, man, is the discussions that happen behind the scenes. Our message board's awesome. There's a lot of discussions we have on our message board that don't happen on Twitter. I mean, you see links on Twitter, a little bit of commentary from me, but the good stuff happens there. And then, of course, if you're not there, you don't see premium articles, whether it's scoop from, Jeffrey and Keith and Cole on recruiting or insiders from me and stuff like that. You're not going to see that. Maybe you see it if it gets shared or screenshotted or whatever, but a lot of that discussion on the message board you don't get. And so it's a good way to sort of conversate with your fellow Auburn fans and have an opinion and among other Auburn fans and get a little intel while you're at it.
Yep. When you guys put the site together at Auburn Live, I canceled my other ones and I went all in on 3. So be sure to do the same thing. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. All right. So the AD situation. First off, do you think Harson is fired if there is a permanent AD in place? Let's start there.
What do you mean?
If Auburn has a permanent AD in place, is he still currently the coach, or do they still keep him towards the end of the season?
If the guy was still there.
If they would have acted quicker, and I don't think that was their goal to act quick after Allen Green and Auburn split ways. It sounded like from the get-go it was going to be kind of a slower process, which is fine, whatever. But let's say that they would have moved quicker and he's been in place for a few weeks now. Would he have made it past the Ole Miss weekend?
I would say if there was a different AD than Allen Green, if that whole situation was different and that AD was still here, if the AD was here, that, like, let's say this would have been reversed and the AD didn't necessarily want Harsin, but everybody that had power wanted Harsin. Like, maybe if it's reversed, maybe the AD says, hey, we got to make a change. But given the scenario, whether it was Allen Green or let's say it was another AD and that AD had made that hire, I think he'd still probably be here at this point, Probably, yeah.
And then as far as timeline, when are you expecting this news to hit?
AD news? I mean, I've been telling our people that I thought this week we would know something. It's gone weirdly quiet since Monday. And so I'm not sure what to make of that right now. I thought we potentially could have I told our people possibly by Friday. I'm still thinking this week or next week. But it's gone quiet the past couple of days, so I'm just not quite sure what to make of that. I'm still, as of right now, I still feel like this week or maybe into next week. If we don't hear anything by the end of this week, then we're gonna have to reevaluate something. But that was all the chatter and what we were hearing was it was trending towards happening.
Sure. The main name I keep hearing, Hoke, is Hartwell. The AD at Utah State, spent some time at Troy. He's a Mobile native, so there's some ties there. Would you be surprised if it wasn't him when it's all said and done?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. I still think, John Hartwell, Rich McGlynn, who's the interim, David Benedict, who's at UConn. Those are the three that I'm focused on. I don't really know that I'd put anybody else in the mix. I mean, there's different people that have been in the mix, but Jared Binko's name has been tossed around, but I'm not sure.
Who is Jared Binko? I haven't heard that one.
Georgia Southern AD. He's been at Auburn and Mississippi State in the past.
Okay, gotcha.
And so, but I'm focused on those three right now: Hartwell, McGlynn, and Benedict. I haven't had anything to tell me that Hartwell's not still the leader or the odds-on favorite. I should say the odds-on favorite, because I don't know the leader. I would just say, based on things I've heard, if I were making the odds, I would make Hartwell the betting favorite.
Sure.
Those are kind of the three I'm at. And I would think the longer it goes on, it's probably good for Rich McGlynn. I mean, the longer this goes on, it's probably better for the guy that's the interim and has some support from behind.
Rich McGlynn surprised me. Rich McGlynn, though, they would have to change university policy to promote him, right?
Yeah. I don't think it'll be him. He's got support that he certainly wants the job. And so I don't know, the longer it goes on, it just makes me think he's still in the hunt to
if he wants the job. And I mean, you make it say he deserves it. I mean, I don't think Auburn has a national championship in 2010 if it's not for him. And I mean, obviously he was a big part of the getting guys eligible and all that for the Final Four run and stuff. But is there any concern about a potential awkward relationship if it's not him? Because you got to think he wants to stick around Auburn, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. He does want to stick around at Auburn. And unless something else comes up, I think that's the plan. I would imagine there's some kind of new title, new money, new role sort of for him if he doesn't get the job. That makes him content. And he likes Auburn. I mean, he likes being in Auburn, likes being around Auburn. So I don't think any awkwardness. I mean, I think if a new AD comes in, Rich really didn't report to Allen Green anyway. I mean, he kind of got elevated above that anyway. So
sure.
Whatever the situation is, he won't, if he stayed, he wouldn't really report to the new AD as it was. He probably would be, so I don't think there'd be any awkwardness or anything.
Yeah, I got you. All right, Hoke, I want to get your thoughts on what Auburn could do in the bye week to get better. And also, let's discuss where Auburn basketball is voted to finish in the SEC by the media at media days this week. Got to tell you about our friends at BetOnline. They're the number one source for all of your football betting info this season, as well as basketball just around the corner. The NBA, heck, started, 2 nights ago? So a lot of excitement there, a lot of energy at BetOnline. And also, we've talked about it before, much like that airport beer, that playoff baseball, it just hits different. And so you can get in on all the action at BetOnline. BetOnline is where the game starts. Justin Hokanson of AuburnLive.com, our guest today. And Hoke, let's start with bye week stuff, then we'll move to basketball in just a moment. But anything you think this team needs to work on specifically during this time off before they host Arkansas next weekend?
Specifically, how much time do we have? Everything. I mean,
that's kind of the issue, right? It's like nothing is specifically major outside of the O-line.
Well, yeah. And what's funny is I literally was thinking about this earlier today, and I always think about what to ask. What can we ask Bryan Harsin? Because he's really good at giving these philosophical, general, broad answers that you're like, whoa, that sounds good, and then you read it and you're like, you didn't say anything. So it's kind of a struggle. Like, hey, what can I ask him to where, how do I get an answer? How do I get
right?
And I thought about asking him just like, hey, at this point in the season, what are you happy with the team does? Like, what does the team do that makes you happy? And just see what his answer would be. Like, hey, what are the things? Not like what do they do well? What do they do?
You haven't asked him that yet.
No, I haven't. I thought about hey, what do they do that you're pleased with? And now he'll probably go, well, I think, look, any coach is just never pleased. I mean, nobody's ever happy. We're always trying to improve. That's what he'll say. And you're like, okay, well, that's great. So to answer your question, I think figure out what you did against Ole Miss running the football and see if that can be replicated. I mean, whether that was that just fluky based on what Ole Miss did? Did Jeremiah
I think you can do it against Ole Miss or against Arkansas.
What now?
I think you'll be able to run against Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas's defense isn't very good. So
terrible.
I think that's kind of the bright spot right now. Like, okay, we finally had some success, some good success running the ball. Yeah. How did that happen? Can we build on that? That's the best chance they got. Robbie's going to take a certain period of time to develop, and it's not going to happen this year. It's good that he's getting thrown in the fire right now, but all the issues that he's having, I was telling people that he was having in fall camp. I don't know how much people. I was like, look, he's very inaccurate. I'm just telling you, he'll get there, but it's just not going to happen this year. The running.
He's actually been better passing than I thought he would be. Like based on what we saw in practice versus now, I think he's gotten better.
There's flashes of it. His completion percentage is still poor, but he'll make a throw and you'll go, there it is.
Yeah.
And then he'll make a throw and you're like, dang, like that Javaris Johnson. I'm thinking third down. Behind him, he's wide open, but then he'll throw a ball, and you're like, "That's more like it." Amari Kelly, think about Amari Kelly on that slant route.
Yeah, I also think I do think he's better than his completion percentage, though, right? Like, can we agree on that? Like, I think the scheme doesn't help him. The offensive line stinks. Like, he's not comfortable in the pocket at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes he leaves the pocket even when the pocket's clean, but can you blame him? It's kind of like the Bo Nix thing all over again.
No, I can't blame him really.
He's better than his completion percentage. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well. To play devil's advocate, I would say his completion percentage is 47%. So, you could make that argument and go, well, he's better than that. All right, let's say he's like a 55% passer. It's still not great. The fumbles are really the only thing, though, that I put on him. You can't keep dropping the ball. Everything else, though, I don't really put on Robbie. He's just trying to figure it out there, and he's thrown into the fire. So I don't really put anything on him other than him dropping the ball. That's on him. Like, dude, you got to hold on to the ball. But running the football, can they build on that at all? If they can if there's something there that we don't know, if there's something there that they look at the film and go, hey, like Jeremiah Wright, I don't know. But he seemed to play well. Did he play that well? Could he potentially be a guy that is more physical than the others? Like, that's the only chance they have right now is, did something click that they can build on?
Yeah.
Other than that, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Does part of you wish Brandon Council would have been at center all year? Or am I crazy for saying that?
I don't know. I just
think they're farther as a unit at this point.
Well,
maybe Tate gets better though if he doesn't get hurt.
I like Tate Johnson. I think he'll be good. I just think he was a little undersized now. It was going to be a struggle. I do like his mentality. I think a few games now with Brandon at the helm is helped that cohesion maybe now after 4 or 5 weeks or whatever. And so I think going into Arkansas, you got a chance. Brandon's been at center now for a month plus, and Jeremy Wright's a big guy. Maybe he can push some people around, and maybe you can figure something out running the football again. Because that's really the only without the consistency, you're not going to beat Arkansas. You're not going to beat Bama. You're not going to beat Mississippi State. You might not beat Western Kentucky because they can score too. So you just got to figure out some consistency somehow, some way.
All right, let's pivot to basketball for our final few minutes here, Hoke. The SEC preseason media poll is out. Let's run through the top 5 because I think that's where it's relevant for this podcast. 1, Kentucky. 2, Arkansas. 3, Tennessee. 4, Auburn. And 5, Alabama. I think that's pretty good. I think if you're Auburn and you lose Jabari and Walker, you take that. You would take finishing 4th in the SEC going into the season.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with being predicted there. Kentucky's loaded. Arkansas loaded up. Tennessee's got guys come back. You're losing Auburn. You're losing 2 first-rounders. Not just 2 first-rounders, a 6'10" and a 7-foot first-rounder. Like impact guys on both sides of the ball that you cannot replace. You can't just turn around and replace Jabari or Walker. You could maybe get another speed guard in there if you lost a guy, but you can't replace those 2 guys. So being 4th is fine. I think they're 15th in the AP poll. We talked to Bruce Pearl on Tuesday, and he said, hey, we're not 15, and he didn't mean that in a good way. He's like, hey, we're nowhere close to that. They've got a long way to go to develop as a team and figure out kind of what they're going to be and what their strengths are going to be. But the pieces are there to have a really good team. I mean, I think defensively the pieces are still there. Janai Broome can block shots at a high rate. Dylan Cardwell can block shots at a high rate. So defensively, I think the pieces are still there to be good. It's offensively, okay, when you can't kick to Jabari on the elbow, what do you do? When Walker isn't just cleaning things up down low with ease, where does some of those points come in? So it's figuring out kind of how to feed the ball to Janai. He's a really efficient scorer. He's one of the better low post guys that Auburn's had. He might be the best low post player Auburn's had under Pearl. I don't think that's a stretch at all. It's probably true.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you mix him in and then also let Wendell and KD be Wendell and KD but also feed, so the pieces are there. It's just going to take, I think, a little bit of time.
What are you hearing timeline-wise about Chance Westry coming back from that surgery?
Probably 3-ish weeks. I mean, I think 3-ish weeks. So let's say he misses the first couple games, but then he's got to come back. He's got to he's got to get stamina back, got to get back in the flow. So, and the thing that Bruce mentioned that I wasn't aware is even before the surgery, he was having pain and he was doing rehab while he was practicing. So he actually wasn't at 100% before the surgery. Okay. So he missed some time there too. So Bruce was like, hey, really, he's missed the fall. He's missed a little bit more time than just the time off from the surgery. He's missed some practice time before that when he was kind of dealing with some pain. So I think it's going to take a little bit for him to get healthy, then get in there and get acclimated. So he's the kind of guy that I'd start to see him look comfortable probably closer to SEC play, get through the West Coast trip and then close to SEC play. And then let's see kind of how he is comfort wise, how's he fitting in with KD and Wendell and Zepp, because he's a guard. He can play 1, 2, 3, he can play any of that. And probably by the season's end, as good as Wendell Green is, at the end of the season, if Chance Westry's healthy from here on out, he could be Auburn's best guard.
Sure.
Is that good?
Justin Hokanson, one more time, how can people check out everything you guys have going on at Auburn Live?
Yeah, man, auburnlive.com. I think it's 50% off right now if you go subscribe. So they kind of do those. They run them and they pull them down, so you never know. So go take advantage, especially right now with all the stuff going on. It'd be a good time to be in there and just kind of be in the know, at least kept up with sort of the vibe of what's going on. So auburnlive.com, hit subscribe, annual, 50% off. It's easy.
That's it. Yeah, and I do it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Also, you can check out all of my written work at auburndaily.com. We'll be back tomorrow right here on Locked On Auburn.